Hi there. Just taking out a few minutes to follow up on a comment thread that kind of went sideways today. This isn't going to be a long presentation, but I do think that there are some issues that are useful to think about together. And so that's the spirit that I'm offering this. And the nature of this conversation that went sideways had to do with requests that I provide a book list to people. Initially, I think there was one request for a book list, and then there was another request that I have like 3 to 5 books to give people, and then that person who initially wanted the book list chimed in again, and I was pretty frustrated because I am not in a position of offering you a book list. I offer a lot of things, and I provide links to my maps, and there are many, many resources in there. And then, of course, I have clips and things on the YouTube that I create. But I brought like 21 boxes of books with me to Arkansas, and I probably got rid of 15 boxes of books before I left Philadelphia. And so it's not just some quick toss-off easy thing for me to make you a book list. But I think it brings up a larger question, is like, what are people after if they're asking for this book list? And as I understood, looking at this comment, the person sort of wanted to be able to, forgive me if I'm mischaracterizing this, but like maybe look out my eyes or think how I think. And how do you step up to thinking how I think? And my feeling is that's not the point. I'm not trying to get people to think like I think. And I often say, think for yourself, right? I'm sharing my perspective from my place on the elephant in my journey. And it's a singular journey. And you too, listeners, readers, have your own journeys to take. And I never expected to be walking down a road of the type of road that I'm walking down. It was not anything that I could have anticipated as a young person, and yet here we are. But my road isn't your road, and my operating system and how I think about the world isn't your operating system. And I provide a lot of material. I provide it in the spirit of sharing and goodwill and fellowship. Sometimes there's a tinge of frustration or snippiness in there. Yes, that is me. I'm not some sublime guru who's offering you this kind, gentle, hand-holding treatment all the time. Sometimes I'm slapping you around the face and saying, wake up, do your work. Because what I have been looking for a really long time are co-explorers in this space and colleagues who are willing to engage and exchange points of view, not of just whatever the latest fear porn video from whatever latest influencer, but things that are operating in a similar research consciousness space that are relevant and that are interesting. And that's what I value, is that. And it's in short supply because honestly, I think I'm not better. Maybe I'm just weirder. I have a different operating system. Okay. And I don't expect that everybody see the world like I do. And I don't judge you for that. I don't go chase around other people on their YouTube channels and yell at them for not thinking like me. And so I want to say this in terms of the book list, and then people in the past have said, oh, you should write a book about your research. And I said, but I'm not done yet. Like, I don't know where it goes. If I had written the book, I guess there's maybe a presumption that there's a book about the stuff I'm researching, and there isn't. I mean, part of how my operating system works is I absorb a vast amount of material at a very wide breadth, and I synthesize it, and I sort of look between, like, it's almost like you need a certain kind of glasses, and you look sideways between the things that are there to see the thing that's in between the things that are there that isn't actually apparent to everyone else. And that's how my brain works. But your brain isn't going to work that way because you're your own person and you operate differently. So even if I felt inclined to spend 3 or 4 days going through all my videos and making up a book list of things that might be interesting, which certainly, if what I'm saying is interesting to you and you're looking for books, all you need to do is keep a notebook next to you. And when I say, hey, look, I got a new book today, it's Seeing through the world, Gene Gebser and Integral Consciousness by Jeremy Johnson, right? So this is my book today. And when I hold a book up because it's interesting to me, then you might write it down if it's interesting to you. But I'm not going to judge you if you don't do a book report on all the books I do. And some of the books might be interesting to some people and just totally not interesting to other people. It's because we're individuals, right? And so the way I see the world is that we each have qualia. We each have our own experience, and we are in conversation with the universe. And for me, because of how I engage with the world, some of that conversation with the universe happens through books, right? And then some of it happens through articles or videos that are shared with my small group of people that I do research with, because we kind of vibe with each other. We're on literally a similar level. And so we're not sharing stuff that's totally irrelevant. It's building a base of shared knowledge. Now, not everybody can be in on that. And that's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, if you get me a Patreon level at $100 a month, you can be in my inner circle and we can be part of a research group. That's not how I roll. It's just not how I roll. I mean, no shade on people who are doing that, but that's not how I'm doing it. So don't expect me to do it. And, and I'm not going to, again, like, I'm not judging other people, but if you show up and you have these additional expectations of me on top of all the other work I do, and then you want to snipe at me that, like, oh, because you have like a cush life and you don't have any obligations and you can just do this work. Well, yeah, this is my soul journey to do this work. Didn't go looking for it, but it showed up and I'm doing it as best as I can. And if you want to imagine living in a 2-bedroom ranch house, 1970s ranch house in Hot Springs, Arkansas, as like a cush posh life, it's a nice, comfortable life. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy in my life right now. It's not some glamorous thing. I know I have a lot of, more than a lot of people, but maybe the universe put me in this place to do this work and to make it available to others who find it interesting. And there are people who find it interesting at different levels. There may be people who occasionally pop in, and I know I have a lot of content, and skim it, and maybe something piques their interest, but next week they forget it and they move on. And then there may be some people who encounter this channel and it fills in some gap of their own experience, and then they voraciously go back through the, 6 years of, 8 years of my videos and start to put pieces together that they have. And that's okay too. I'm not going to say that one person is better than the other person. I'm leaving a trail of crumbs for use however people choose to use it. But at the end of the day, I think that there's this thing about social media somehow, is that we set ourselves up as being victims and being entitled and asking other people to do our shit, and we're not taking responsibility for our own process. If you feel called to take a soul journey, which involves quite a bit of risk and possible reward, then you walk that walk. But it's not going to be my walk, right? Like when you walk your walk, you're going to be looking at it through your eyes and your lived experience and your intelligence. You're not going to be trying on the Alison McDowell avatar and looking at it through my eyes. Like, that's creepy, and I don't want that. I would rather you walk your walk, and then occasionally maybe we compare notes and we see where things overlap, and there's something that I share that resonates with you, and you say, oh, well, this, and like, I see this, and this is where it builds into my perspective, right? And that's the most valuable kind of interaction that happens online, but it happens fairly rarely. I mean, I will admit. And, I do feel fortunate it does happen that I get interesting information from people. Like I was grateful to be tagged in the thing about the Houston public health official, because that led me to, again, resynthesize information I've already pulled together and reshare it in a timely fashion so that maybe it starts to make sense to you with Bobby as Health and Human Services Secretary. Okay, so that was useful. And I had a conversation recently with someone who introduced me to Peter Kingsley, who's this mystical philosopher who's working, in early, I don't know, it's like the pre-Socratic ancient thinkers, right, in imagination and dreams, and he overlaps with Jung and Henri Corbin. And I had never heard of him before, but I looked him up and he's fabulous, right? So there is the capability that each of us on our own journeys can find meaningful ways to communicate and share with one another without impinging on each other's space, right? And for me, when you're like demanding that how hard could it be for you with your cushy life to go around and make me a book list? If you want to learn, I have hundreds of hours of information on here. Yeah, no, I haven't packaged it as some sort of course I'm going to charge you $800 for and pull this all offline and make you pay and download it. And no, I'm not doing that. That's not how I'm doing it. But if I'm not exactly how you want me to be, accept it for what it's worth, because this is the gift economy. And, if you're all butthurt about it, then I would just say maybe this isn't the journey for you. Not that that makes you less of a person. You can be a perfectly fine person and not take this kind of journey. I would not necessarily recommend it to others. It's painful. It's difficult. And it's not for everybody. And it's okay. That doesn't, just because it's not for you doesn't mean that, you're not a worthy person. It's just, we can't all be off doing the same thing. Some of us have to be doing other things. And that's how the world works. We're all unique, beautiful beings. So I needed to share this because I need for people to sit in their place, assess their own, how they are in the world, what they want to get out of the world, and what they feel their responsibilities are to themselves and others and their loved ones, and get on with it. You can do it, and you don't have to be like someone else. You don't have to be like me or think like me. And I'm not trying to hold out on you on the books. I mean, I say them all the time, but damn, I have a lot of stuff that I talk about. I'm not going to sit down and spend 3 or 4 days making you a reading list. I'm not your college professor. I'm just not. So, take this under advisement. Understand that if you want to actively participate in this work, it's not easy. There's no 3 to 5 book condensation of this. There isn't. There's not a short clip of this. This is an immersive rhizomatic experience. It's kind of all over the place. I don't know where this is all going. I don't have your answers. I have more questions than answers, but I have a lot of interesting things that I think about that I share freely and in good spirit. And I share what I share, and that's it. So anyway, I hope people take this in the way it's intended, but take responsibility for your own learning and your own thinking. Don't think like me, because you're not me. And the universe is going to interact with you differently than I'm a bookie person. I've been a book person since I was a little kid. I'm kind of a garden person. So the universe communicates with me through those things. But if you're a music person, if you're a math person, if you're a dance person, if you're somebody who counsels people, if you're a cook, the universe is going to talk to you in your own way. So what I would encourage is, if you want to go on that kind of journey, be true unto yourself. Be true unto yourself and listen to the universe of what it's saying, and then try to integrate what I'm sharing if you find it valuable. And a lot of people don't, and that's fine. But if you find what I say valuable, see how it integrates into your life. And then figure out what you want to do about that. Do you want to just think about it for yourself? Do you want to share it publicly? I think at some point, those of us who are aware of what is unfolding have an obligation to share this stuff openly and encourage public conversation about it. But you don't have to. You don't have to. So, I do a lot. And I do it in my own way. And I'm not doing it for my readership. I'm not doing it for my viewers. I'm not here to baby anybody. But there's a lot here. If this is your bag, there's a lot to dig through if you want to dig into it. And if you don't have time, if you're not that motivated, then that's okay. I'm not going to come knocking on your door, pointing fingers, telling you you're doing it wrong. We each have our own journey to make.